Okay, this is an interesting one. Got an inquiry from this person who said, "Hi Nick, I was reading The Projection of the Astral Body by Sylvan Muldoon and Hereward Carrington, probably the best book on astral projection you can get, apart from, of course, my own." And it says there, one thing that baffles me is when Sylvan Muldoon mentioned that he picked up a wrench in his astral form and started banging it against a tanker outside his house. He said that when he returned to his physical body and woke up in bed, he still heard the banging against the tanker outside. How can that be? His astral body cannot be outside banging loudly if it's supposed to have returned to his physical body. I get really skeptical about it. Is it coincidence? Could it be some sort of time delay? Uh, that his astral body is a few seconds in the future. So when you wake in the present that evening, the event of his astral body banging the tanker happens a few seconds later. Okay. Let's just try and clarify a few things. Yeah, I mean, the whole time delay thing could be a possibility. We've only got questions here, not answers. But the whole thing about an astral projection just seems to be that there is this like a massive alteration of perception and center of perception. I mean, if I get like a whole like series of mirrors, like one of those infinity rooms, but I've bent, I've angled the mirrors in such a way that I can see the back of my own head when I look forward, and I'm seeing, and I can see myself, the back of my own head, whilst I'm hitting something with a hammer. Okay, but I'm seeing it from the point of view of what appears to be my own physical eyes. All right. Does that mean I'm actually standing behind myself? No. What it means is to say that my optical sense of perception is somehow different in the fact that it's perceiving something from a different point of view. Now, if all these hypotheses about universal consciousness is somehow correct, which in my personal experience has led me to believe that that could be the case, then it is a possibility that part of the consciousness is actually outside of the physical in this particular case of Sylvan Muldoon, but the sensory perception was within the physical body, connected via the hypothetical astral cable. Okay? So it's a question of where you are at that moment. I mean, right now, whilst you're sitting down watching this video, because of the position of your eyes and your ears, all right, you probably think that the real you, or it feels like the real you, is somewhere inside your own head right now. Okay, but what if you were a creature which had the same externalities as a human being, all right, in terms of your senses being, your eyes in this part of your head, your ears in this part of your head, and so on and so forth, but your actual brain, which had the seat of consciousness, was in another country even. You would probably experience yourself from where the body is and where the senses are, the senses of sight and the sense of hearing and the sense of touch, because your experience of reality is dominated at the moment by your senses and where your senses are and how your senses seem to operate. All right? Because if we just ignore like neuroscience and all the rest of that, which says that there's various chemicals working in the brain which does all your thinking basically, and all your cognition and all your I think therefore I am, therefore it's all boom, inside the brain, and just ignore that, we would have to say that we would have like no evidence that what we really are is not on another planet or in the center of the earth or somewhere all around, just being filtered into these vessels of sensory perception. Okay? And there's also a argument to say that the brain is a receiver rather than necessarily, the thing which generates consciousness as a result of the energy from the food you eat, the water that you drink, the air that you breathe, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's another point of view. Is it a hard and fast fact? No, we don't know, okay? But in the case of Sylvan Muldoon here, alright, the thing that was him or his sensory perception, or indeed the motor aspect of his astral projection function, could be in two places at once. All right, because you can have your, or can seem to be like that. I mean, I can be lying in bed and I've got the experience of lying in bed and I can hear the sounds of cars driving by outside, or whatever it is. But that's because my senses are within the body. All right. I mean, hypothetically, my soul, my spirit, my astral body could be on the other side of the world, or vice versa. Maybe my sensory perception has been shifted to the astral body somewhere else, and my sense of cognition is still in the physical. All right. I mean, this example from Sylvan Muldoon and Harewood Carrington, the projection of the astral body, is a complex one. But from what it says here, if there was some kind of physical activity or happening as a result of the astral body, there's nothing to say that there shouldn't be some kind of sensory perception in the physical. All right, the precise location of where the consciousness was could in fact even be independent from both the physical and the astral, for all we know, or it could be in between the two, or it could be the cable itself. All right, what he's done there is he's related a strange personal experience and trying to assess precisely how that can have happened as a result of his kind of like intellectual points of view with regard to how the phenomena works can cause some problems, because you're arguing with his interpretation or expression of how the phenomena occurs. Now, what I like most about the book Projection of the Astral Body is that the instructions and the practice exercises, which take a long time to be able to get, a good strange experience, are very illustrative of things you have to go through when you're trying to have that experience. And it seems to be a good path of development if that's a personal experience you're trying to head for. But you've got to ask yourself, is his model of the way that things happen necessarily the way that things are? Basically, no. Just like the quantum theory of gravity has been steadily developing as people have got more information on what the theory of gravity is. Just as like theory of evolution has had to develop further and further and further, and the theory of evolution of specific mammals and reptiles and birds and insects has had to change as more information has come along, and all the rest of that. Okay. So we have to suggest that there is to be some kind of possible change in improvement in thinking associated with astral projection from the days of Sylvan Muldoon on to the present day and afterwards. But those are still models of how these things operate. I mean, you can have an astral projection, yes. That is a fact as far as I'm concerned. I have had them, therefore I am prepared to say it's a fact. How it happens, precisely how it happens, what phenomena is involved, why it's not totally controllable, all these things are more questions. But the experience that you can have is a fact, but how it operates and what components are a part of it, that's up to different people's personal experiences and a certain level of speculation. So we have to include speculation in terms of what Sylvan Muldoon thought was actually going on when he had the astral projection. But still, it is the key pivotal book, the central book for learning astral projection from the basics, from the ground up. And it is a good way of looking at things. So, get it. It is a compulsory read for anyone who's interested in astral projection.